Welcome back. You're still watching Roots and Spices. Today I have with me a naturopath who is going to be talking to us about natural medicine. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining the show. So I'd
Thank
like you
you
to
for
introduce.
having me.
Yeah, I'd like you to introduce yourself to the
Okay, my
viewers.
name is Pastor Fumi Awudia. I'm from Christ Embassy Lagos Zone 1, Christ Embassy Shangisha Group, and I'm a naturopath. I I work with nature to heal. That's the work we do as naturopaths.
Great. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the show. So, we hear naturopathy, naturopaths, and I feel like we should know about what this
What it is exactly. Okay, good. So in naturopathy, we use nature to heal. And there's so many things in nature that you can use to heal. For instance, the sunlight. You can use sunlight to heal, water to heal, food to heal, um, exercise. I mean, these things are called in nature, things, herbs, like even the ground. There's something called grounding, earthing. So you can use the ground to heal. So things that are naturally occurring is what is employed by naturopaths in healing. And out of all of these things, the key is food. Number one is your diet. If you do everything else without making sure your diet conforms to natural practices, you won't get it right. You won't get it right. So what you really need to do is find somebody who has the information to guide you on how to make your food your medicine so that it heals the body. Because really what has happened is that food has become the poison. Food is not the poison that people eat. So people eat poison as food instead of eating food as medicine. Because in the design of God, you see, God is so wise. God is so awesome. God designed the human body to heal by itself. The human body has the ability and the capacity to deal with any invasion. But the human body has received so much toxin, so much poison, that ability has been suppressed. So because the ability of the body to heal itself is suppressed, the body can't heal itself. And that's why we need doctors. And if you even look at the history of medicine, you really know that doctors were forced on us. What the world started with was natural medicine. Orthodox medicine came in place because they were trying to sell drugs.
Wow. Huh. This is revealing. Very, very revealing. Thank you so much, ma. So you talked about how that you need someone to guide you.
Yeah.
So that means one needs a naturopath, a coach.
So now you've grown up many years. You've been taught, for example, if you grew up living in Nigeria, like I did, we have a certain way we eat. Our parents ate like that. So you eat breakfast is bread and eggs, and then you eat amala for lunch, and then you eat beans as dinner. It's a wrong combination. It's not healing. You will eat it and you'll be full and you'll be satisfied, but you're not providing nutrition for your body. Now, what really happens to us is that because our body does not get the right nutrition, there's something that occurs is deficiency. So you become deficient in food. Now, generally, when we're taught food in school, in primary school and secondary school, and even medical doctors, when they go to school, they don't have this nutrition taught to them. So all they have is that basic knowledge they got in primary school and secondary school, and they're taught to eat from the three major groups: proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. No emphasis is laid on the micronutrients. So we are not talking of potassium, magnesium, zinc, iodine, all of those other things. You're not talking about those things. So you decide that you want to eat healthy, and then you want to go and do it all by yourself. What you mean is maybe you're doing this. I did that. I had a health situation, and I said, let me do research and find out what I can do for myself. What made me do that? The doctor told me I'll be on medication for the rest of my life in 2008. I looked at the doctor. In fact, immediately he said it. Anger rose up within my spirit. I stood up, carried my bag. The doctor said, Mr. Odia, what's it? I said, I'm leaving, sir. I said, doctor, look at me very well. Last time, you never see me again. I said, you just told me you're the wrong place to come to. He said, so where are you going to? I said, the right place. He said, where is it? I said, God. God is the right place. When I talk to God, He will tell me what to do. So that's what I did. I talked to God and I began to search. I began to look for information. Sometimes I'm sitting down, the Holy Spirit will give me a word, like go and search natural. And it was always natural. That was the one leading I always had. Natural ways to deal with. Natural ways to deal with. So I kept searching. But in my search, when you're searching by yourself, your ability to put together information is limited.
Yeah.
Then the angle at which you are getting the information may not be right. So you're searching, you're seeing different things. But then I now went to study naturopathy, and then somebody began to speak to me and say, this is it, this is it. And then I could say, oh, okay, that search I did then was not entirely correct. If I'd gone this way, it should have been better. I got results with what I did, but I will get better results today because now I know what to do. So when I now studied naturopathy on my own, I realized that a lot of people have information, but it may not be entirely correct. Even people claim to be teaching us how to eat healthy. So I asked them a question. Oh no, most times they say a healthy diet or a balanced diet. And I say, what's your concept of healthy? And what's your concept of balance? So from somebody says balance means that I eat carbs, proteins, and fats. I eat them in the right proportion. And sometimes I even add fruits and vegetables to it. And that is healthy. But that is not healing. So when I'm talking of healthy, in my own opinion, it has to be healing. Healthy doesn't mean good. Healthy doesn't mean nice. Healthy means healing. Because the body is constantly under attack. When we go out, we breathe in polluted air. Sometimes we are drinking in fact, a lot of us drink the wrong water. We drink sachet water, we drink bottled water. Every bottle you have, most times, of course, nobody is doing careful bottles. So the bottles are made of plastic.
Yes.
The plastic leaches into the water. You drink the water and you need water. You must drink water. But that water you are drinking is already a problem. Do you understand?
Yes.
So you need to know how to transition from what I know to what is best. That's why you need a coach. That's why you cannot do it all by yourself. So you need somebody to guide you and to tell you this is wrong. So when I'm telling people, don't do this and don't do that and don't do this and do that, and they say it's too much. I say, well, it's too much. But you see, the onslaught is too much. The onslaught, if there is Pastor Chris, our man of God, has been talking to us about the depopulation agenda.
Okay.
Now, in that depopulation agenda, if they came and used guns and did like this, whoo, people will be aware that that's the agenda. But they didn't do that. All they did is they used food and they used medication. Very simply. They bastardized food so it will kill faster. They didn't need to bring guns. They just needed to work on the food and make sure the food will kill people. They also needed to work on medication to make sure the medication will kill people. I was using a particular medication, and one day I was going to apply that medication. The Holy Spirit said to me, read the literature. Read the literature. And I picked it, opened the literature, and most times when they give us medication in the hospital, they take out the literature.
Yes.
So you don't see the literature, so you can't read it. They have read it. They know the side effects of the medication. Most doctors will not use those drugs. Most doctors will not, except they are forced to. It's a critical situation. So I read the literature and I look at all the side effects. And I said to myself, and a doctor gave me this thing with all these side effects. What's the plan? What was his plan? Most of them have been taught, if you understand the way medicine evolved, you know that what they are taught is just prescribe medication. So they're not thinking the effects of the medication. For instance, the worst thing you can do to a cancer patient is do chemotherapy without support. The worst thing you can do to a cancer patient is do chemotherapy without support. Sometimes you need to do the chemotherapy because the cancer is really bad. But if there is no support, that person will die of the chemo, not of the cancer. And the chemo will kill faster than the cancer. So if you already know how to live your life in such a way to prevent sickness and disease by applying eating the right food, not eating the food that causes disease. When I tell people, don't use table salt, as simple as that. The normal salt we buy in the market is a poison. There's no other name for it. It's a poison. Let me explain that to you. When I try to explain that to people, they're like, that sounds crazy. So you take salt. You harvest salt from the sea or from the mountains. So we have salt from the sea and from the mountains. And we have salt naturally occurring in Nigeria, in the eastern part of Nigeria. You harvest this salt, then you take it to a factory and you remove all the minerals. Most salts have naturally occurring 82 to 92 minerals. You remove all the minerals, you remove everything, then you bleach the salt, because salt, natural salt, is not white. You bleach it, and when you say bleach, what it means, you add bleach, a chemical, to it. It's bleach. Remember, it's bleach. It's added to the salt.
Yes.
So you're eating salt that has bleach in it. It's a chemical. And you have to be crazy to take bleach and drink it. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So they put bleach in the salt to make it brilliant white. We love that color.
Yes.
It's nice. So the salt is now bleached. It's white.
Yes.
Then they now add iodine to it. They add one mineral out of 82 to 92. They add one. The 82 and 92 they took, they sell it to pharmaceutical companies. They produce supplements, very expensive supplements, and they tell us you need zinc, you need potassium,
Great.
and we buy them.
And
we buy them. Yeah. But meanwhile, it's naturally occurring in our food that you took it out. So don't use those salts. Use sea salt. Somebody says it's more expensive. I say, what's more expensive really? A doctor telling you to come and pay for one funny treatment and telling you it's 50,000, or you going every day to buy food for 1,525 and eating it 3-4 days. What's more expensive? Your health is not as expensive as the hospital. So the choices people have to make, and those choices are based on the lies that we have been told as we grew up, that we're not aware they were lying to us. We were told a lot of lies.
Wow, this is actually very revealing, and I'm sure people at home are already seated, really waiting to hear more revealing things. Thank you so much, Ma.
You're welcome.
And I'm sure this expose is going to change a lot in the lives of the viewers. But we'll go on a very quick break, and when we return, there's just so much for you to learn. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still watching Roots and Spices, and we've been talking about naturopathy, how you can use food as your medicine, and how, well, of course, naturopathy is a study of natural medicine, and you get to learn how to use food as your medicine, and be sure that you're avoiding food that can become poisonous to you on the long run. So I still have with me my guest that will be talking to us about how sugar is even a poison. And I wanted to throw more light on that particular discussion.
Okay, thank you. Sugar is a poison. Sugar, that's one poison. So you can imagine you're eating several things and everything is poison. So what do you think is happening? A lot is happening in your body. Now, sugar is in practically everything we eat. Ketchup has sugar. These are not the obvious ones. These are not the obvious ones. The obvious ones are cakes and ice creams and carbonated drinks and all of that. Those ones are the obvious ones. Now, the body has a limit to which it can handle sugar. So when you overload, and then this is white sugar. The same thing that they did to salt has been done to white sugar. Sugar does not occur in its natural state white. That's the problem. It doesn't occur. There is no sugar. If you do date sugar, jaggery, none of them is white. They come colored. So that means, first of all, they've been bleached.
Yes.
The same way salt was bleached, chemicals were added to bleach them and take them from their natural color to a white color. So already you're taking a poison, because bleach is a poison, right? So you're already taking a poison by taking sugar. Then the effect of the sugar on the body, because this is not something that is naturally occurring, its activities, action in the body is way higher than the natural one. Now, everything you do in life should be done in moderation. Even when you're taking the natural sugar, like the honey and the stevias and all of that, should also be done in moderation. But you see, the way we've been conditioned with sugar, there is no moderation. There's no moderation. If you take a bottle of, when I stopped taking Coke many years back, was I visited a factory, bottling factory, and they told me, and then I was trying to lose weight, so I was taking tonic water with the belief in my mind, in my uninformed mind, that tonic water did not have sugar. So I was in a bottling company, and he said, would you like a drink? And I said, I take only tonic water. And then he said, why? He said, it's because of sugar. And I said, yes. And he said, do you know that it actually has more sugar than Coke? That a bottle of Coke has 13 cubes of sugar. Tonic water has almost times 2 that amount of sugar. That's the last day I drank tonic water. that day was revelation to me. And that's the way a lot of things are, because you don't know. And the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So what you should go for is actually more knowledge, not more medication. So a doctor is telling you, you need this and that. No. God has given us everything we need to heal in nature. First of all, your body is designed by God to heal itself. All you need to do is give it what it needs, which is nutrition and a clean system. Most people don't clean their body on the inside. We bathe our bodies every day, but we don't think we should clean our eyes, we should clean our nose, we should clean our ears, we should clean our lungs. We don't think of cleaning inside. We clean outside. But the same way you clean outside, you must clean inside. That's a process. Then you must provide the nutrition the body needs to live at optimal health. So you are eating naturally occurring food. And you see, the problem again is with the food industry is that food is grown in such a way to maximize profits.
Yes.
So, for example, the wheat plants, I listened to it, I watched a video. The wheat plant traditionally used to be like knee-high, traditionally. But when it was modified, it grows taller than a man, right? And it produces 8 to 10 times more yield than that traditional wheat plant. Now, because that's been genetically modified, the berries produced from wheat, now, the kind of glucose that is produced when it is digested by the body is different. That spikes sugar. And you see, today in this world, diabetic patients are told to take wheat bread. Why? Who sold them that lie? Somebody sold them the lie. They don't need wheat bread. And they are told that they cannot eat gari. That is not as harmful as the wheat bread. Yeah. They are told gari is bad for them. Yeah. But wheat swallow is good. It's the opposite. It's so incorrect. It's so incorrect. And so when you're talking to a medical, you really need the Holy Spirit to know when to say no. You need the Holy Spirit to know this is not right. There was a story that broke on the internet at the beginning of this year, I think, about a doctor who was treating patients who did not have cancer with chemotherapy. Some patients went for a second opinion. Some went for a second opinion, and because they got a second opinion, they were not treated by him. Then they were told, you don't have any cancer, there's nothing wrong with you. But some believed the doctor and were treated, and they died. From the chemotherapy treatment, not from they didn't even have cancer. Some of them developed cancer because of the treatment, because that treatment will destroy your immune system. And once your immune system is destroyed, that means your body can no longer handle attacks. If you can no longer handle attacks, anything can happen to the body. But this human body, with trillions of cells, God must be an awesome personality. The human body has trillions of cells, trillions. So comprehend millions, then go to billions, then go to trillions. And God has so designed it that each cell can maintain itself in health if it is given the right nutrition and is in the right environment. So food is key in this thing, because that's where your nutrition comes from, your food. So you should eat food that is naturally occurring and is minimally processed. I tell people, if it came out of a factory, don't touch it with a 6-foot pole. So when I tell people don't eat certain foods, and they say, why? I said, did it come from a factory? Was that factory behind your house? If you produced it behind your house, or if you know that it was a woman behind the house that produced it, it is minimally processed. But by the time it's coming out of a factory, it is no longer minimally processed. And most times, they have added stuff to it. They didn't just process it, they're additives. I met somebody who says she can produce groundnut oil for us. For my people, I have people that I coach. So she says she can produce groundnut oil for my team. And then I asked, she says she has NAFDAC registration, and she is required under that registration, by virtue of that registration, to add certain things to the groundnut oil. So it's not just groundnut oil anymore, they are additives. So I said, is it possible to produce it without? She said yes, but she will still label it as added to, because, do you understand? So that's the food, that's the lie that the food industry has sold to us. So the best thing is grow your food as much as possible. Grow something that you can eat in your house. Grow something. It doesn't have to be much. I was inspired to start growing food by a friend. I visited this friend and she had broken bowls, broken buckets, all sorts. I mean, as small as my hand. I was holding something. And I said, what's all this? She said, when I want to eat, I go out there, I pluck tomatoes, I pluck pepper, I go in and blend and I make stew. I pluck vegetable, I pluck bitter leaf, I take 2 leaves of bitter leaf, 2 leaves of this, 2 leaves, and I make vegetables. I'm like, seriously? How? Bags. Everything, she was using them to go. I went back, I said, please give me. She gave me all sorts, you know, that day. And I got home, I carried them from Ibadan to Lagos. And my children said, what's it? I said, my friend, I have to copy her. That's how I started the journey. Today, all the plantain I eat in my house is grown in the back of my house. All the pawpaw I eat is grown in the back of my house. If I want to make vegetable, I go out of my house and pluck vegetable. And then they're not only just good for food, they're also good for medicine. Do you know that water leaf, just water leaf, if you take water leaf and blend it and drink it, is healing? Bitter leaf, somebody spoke to me yesterday and said, I have menstrual cramps. And I said, can I give you a remedy? She said, what's that? I said, bitter leaf. She said, bitter leaf. I said, just take bitter leaf, squeeze it and drink it 2 days before your periods and you won't have menstrual cramps. She said she's never heard of it in her life. The same thing with okra. The same thing with scent leaf, pawpaw leaf, moringa, avocado leaf, guava leaves. All these things that just grow around us that we walk past and just see them as leaves are actually medicinal. And you see, the things about things that are medicinal is that sometimes when you even cook them, they don't lose their phytonutrients, so they can still give you some benefit. But if you take them as they are in their natural state, you are getting 100%. But remember, they are not the ones that have been grown with herbicides and pesticides and fertilizers. When people tell me cucumbers, I say, when you want to buy cucumbers in the market, this is a tip. Don't buy those big fat ones. It's obvious that they have been grown with fertilizers. Yeah. But the ones that are still looking small and ugly, maybe the fertilizer did not get to that part of it. So please buy those small, tiny, ugly looking cucumbers instead of those big fat ones. Just do something. Just start somewhere and begin to guard what goes into your mouth. When you guard it, your body will begin to naturally heal. Naturally heal. Things that you did not think of. You know, as simple as changing your salt can change things for you. One thing that most people don't do that is number one for me is water. A lot of people don't drink water. A lot of people don't drink water. Even as hot as the weather is, people would rather drink Coke. Why? Adverts. We see Coke. Somebody is thirsty, and we have seen these adverts several times where somebody is really thirsty and sweating all over, and all does is grab a bottle of Coke and pour. No, grab water. Grab water instead.
Wow. Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
In fact, how I wish that people realize that most of the information that they get from the media, most of them are twisted, they are contorted, they are just, and our man of God, Pastor Chris, actually exposed us to the fact that they are actually paid by Big Pharma. And why do you think that Big Pharma would be so concerned about your health when they are actually in the race for profits, when they're in the race to get rich? Why do you think they will be so concerned about your health? You know, that takes me back to the story about King Charles. Earlier this year, there was a news that broke out that he wasn't going to, because he had been diagnosed of cancer, and he came out with the news that he was not going to be, you know, he was not going to rely on chemo. He
was going for herbs.
For herbs. You know, that opened people's eyes to a lot of things. You just realize that there's so much truth that people are yet to really take in. And you know, Ma, you've just shared these things with us. I'm sure they are truly revelations.
And there's so much more.
So many people have been exposed to this revelation. I'm sure they're going to be working on it. They're going to be changing their lifestyle. You know, as a naturopath, you have told us so much on how we can actually use even herbs as our food. And you made us understand that some of this food that you're taking in, they are just, instead of them to become healing, they become poisonous to the health. And I want to also use this to also encourage the viewers that they could also get a coach. They need a coach, someone to guide them, because some of them will want to transition to a more wholesome diet. So you need a coach to actually guide you, and if they've heard from you all they need to do. And I'd like to encourage you viewers to also watch your Love World specials with Pastor Chris. There's so much to learn from it. You get to understand what is really going on in our world today, what the media is doing, what Big Pharma is doing. Like I told you earlier, they are not there because they are so concerned about your health. Most of the things that you use to stay in health are actually grown in your garden, grown at your backyard. You don't put your hope on things that are coming from the factory. And I've come to understand that even the information on our food, the label, they put it in a way that people don't even get to understand what is there.
If you can't read it,
you
don't
can't
touch
interpret it.
If you can't, don't touch it.
I remember telling someone one time that your food should be grown in your garden, not from the lab. And that's what they're actually doing with the GMO foods. People need to know this truth. People need to understand these things. That you talked about water, and I remember in one of your healing streams, live healing services with the man of God, Pastor Chris, he actually told people to drink water because, like you said, it's as simple as that is. It can prevent so many illnesses. You need to drink water. You need to be more conscious of what goes into your mouth, and always remember that God loves you. And God's wish for you is to live a more healthy lifestyle. He says, "I wish above all things that our may prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers." Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Pastor Fumi. Thank you so much for this time and all of the, the revelation that you have shared with us today. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you more on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so
much.
I'm
so glad I came. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So until I come your way again, I encourage you to keep winning and also eat your natural food and stay healthy. My name is Ruth Ikara. Bye for now.
Well, James Quincy is the president of Coca-Cola Europe. What good does Coca-Cola do you physically?
I think Coca-Cola, as the introduction said, does have some sugar in it. It is energy. Is it an absolute necessity? No, it's not. Millions of people enjoy it as part of their diet across the UK.
Does have some sugar in it, you say? Why don't you say specifically how much sugar there is in this can, for example?
I think if you're
on the side you say 30, you have a percentage on there, don't you?
Yes, right here on the front, it quite clearly calls out the amount of sugar in this can of Coke.
And what does it say?
35 grams, which is 6 teaspoons of sugar, which is about the same amount of calories as a cappuccino or half a croissant. So there is calories. And actually, what we're doing is to say, look, the information is here. We want to actually promote and make sure.
Do you imagine people know if they go to the cinema, and this is a small one, and there are big ones here too. You go to the cinema and you get a jug of Coke like this. Do you think people have any idea how much sugar's in it?
And maybe they don't. And I think one of the things we need to do.
Look at this. 23 sachets of sugar in that single container, the equivalent thereof. Now that is a staggering amount of sugar, isn't it?
That is why we're very focused, as one of the things we're doing, on getting the information out there. We're not trying to hide the information behind what's in a
But
Coca-Cola
you are trying to hide it.
But there's zero sugar in a Coke Zero.
Well, clearly it's called a Coke Zero, but the Coke Classic, look at this one here. There's 44 packets of sugar in this one. 44!
Indeed there are, and I think what we're saying is, look, we want to make sure that people have the information available to them so that they can make the choices, and if they don't want the big one, then fine, and that clearly is not one that's going to be for everyone. We want to make sure the information is available. We want to make sure there's more availability of more choices, whether it's smaller packages, as you had in your intro.
Yeah, but whether it's 23 in something this size, or 44 in something this size, each of which is to be consumed in one single sitting at the cinema, this is staggering, isn't it?